have my signal. Unleash hell.
Magnus Carlsen's opponent, Serbian Grandmaster Aleksandar Indjic, goes d4 in this game. Knight f6 from Magnus, and he soon unleashes hell. This is the World Blitz Championships 23. Day 2, part of Magnus's 6-game insane winning streak, and this one's beautiful. I'm back in my cupboard today, under the stairs, and my Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia said I can stay up till 12 because it's New Year's Eve. And on that note, wherever you're at, wishing you a happy new year, and thanks a lot for tuning in. Now to this game here, Magnus after c4 goes pawn to e6. We get knight c3 and a mainline Nimzo-Indian defense. Magnus was essaying this one all tournament. We now see e3, the main move, very solid variation. We get d5 from Magnus, tiny bit of a sideline, not much, goes back into a Queen's Gambit decline kind of structure, but castle's way more common, keeping that one in the pocket. Will you go b6 or c5 or whatever? But Magnus clarifies, we now get a3, putting a question to this bishop, and often you see it capture here, and you therefore get good control over e4, and you compromise the pawn structure. But Magnus drops back, keeping pieces on the board, losing a tempo there of course, bouncing out and back, but white's blocked in their own bishop with this move. So knight f3 played, castles, b4 expanding, b6 from Magnus, takes, pawn takes, and I don't like this next move. Bishop to b2. That is one ugly bad bishop. If you've ever heard people talk about the bad bishop, you know, in the French defense or structures like this, well, they're referencing the fact that all the central pawns are on the same color complex as a bishop, which kills its activity. So a6 now from Magnus, takes control of b5, therefore prepares bishop d6 after white carries on the natural development. We now get knight e5. Why doesn't Magnus capture? Well, not only does he give up his bishop pair, but suddenly after pawn takes, this knight moving out the way, you hugely expand the scope of that sniper. So instead c5, good counterplay against white's centre. We get b pawn captures, always captured towards the centre unless you've got a good reason not to. This one recaptures from Magnus, and now castle's played. Of course not pawn takes, or you drop a whole minor piece. So this one on the board, c4 now from Magnus, he closes the centre, therefore gives white a free hand here to expand with f3, e4. This could get risky, but Magnus knows these structures inside out. He's been playing them since a kid. He used this structure to win the World Championship in 2013 against Vishy Anand. So we get knight bd7, now pawn f4, and rook b8. Magnus is walking into knight c6, forking. You know, this is a sign of a man who knows what he's doing. But if white does this, well then there's queen e8. Yes, you win an exchange, but this base of the pawn chain collapses, king side steps, you win back that piece there. And although you've only got a minor piece and a pawn for the exchange, these ones now are terribly weak, and like said, that's a pretty horrible piece. So it's decent for Magnus. As such, no knight c6 played. Rook a2 instead played to cover this bishop here. Rook b1 preferred though by the engines. Now we get knight b6, and this shows a deep understanding of the position, because that knight looks dead. Where's it actually headed? Okay, you cover the center, but big deal. But one of the points here is that if white ever goes e4, which is a desirable attacking move, well then after pawn takes, this knight can find a home on the d5 square. So white starts with bishop a1 here, tucking back, potentially then activating this rook. We see queen e7 from Magnus, targeting this pawn, which was just left undefended, and now here Indjic goes wrong. Queen f3 preferred by the engine, covering the pawn here, giving this one if Magnus wants to take. I mean, don't forget, knight c6 is a threat, so you do have to take care of that one first. But none of that played, no queen f3, instead e4 immediately on the board. But this breaking open of the centre actually helps Magnus. After bishop b7, we see takes on d5, and look at this steed, hopping into the game with great effect. Black's got the superior pawn structure now. We get queen e1 played, looking for some active play. Clock times on the left. Magnus is hugely up, sitting on Indjic's head with that clock pressure. Now we get takes on a3. Magnus just snapping a pawn, but not for pawn's sake. He now gets the b4 square available as well. So queen h4, desperate attacking ideas. Knight e3 from Magnus, hitting those two pieces, opening the eyes of this bishop, and after the rook sidesteps, well, you can even take on g2 here with the knight. Hit the queen, hit the rook, fantastic for black. But Magnus doesn't even want to calculate any of these possible attacking ideas, even though the knight currently covers. But now, Magnus takes on c2 instead. He just wants to get rid of that attacking piece. Then he goes queen e6. What's that one all about? Well, he's creeping onto these light squares here, and probably white should just attack. g4, sure, it weakens the king, but fling those pawns forward. How's Magnus going to react? Okay, knight d7, he's still better, but it was aggressive stuff. Instead, the queen meekly returns to this f2 square. Queen f5 from Magnus, he's creeping in. We get h3, h5, shutting down the g4 expansion, and after king h2, Indjic playing on seconds here, Magnus now starts the final assault with bishop to b4, pressuring this piece, but also this rook, which is in the x-ray of the bishop, right? So it should come here to the c file. That's the top move, but rook b1 played instead. Magnus now finds a way to liquidate to his advantage. He takes that knight on c3. Bishop recaptures, and this knight gallops into the center with great effect. These ones forked as highlighted. So queen f1 played. Knight takes, rook takes. Why is Magnus liquidating everything? Well, now, at his signal, he unleashes hell on his opponent. Can you find the winning tactical shot here? Gives black about a 9-10 pawn advantage, as you can see on the left. So the move to play to smash open the king, well done if you found this. Bishop takes on g2. What to do here? Because whether you take with king or queen, you're losing this rook. Which begs the question, well, what if you take the rook here first? Well, then black takes here. You take here with check, king recaptures, and when the smoke clears, you've got minor piece for minor piece, queen for rook, plus a naked king still getting attacked. That is going to be game over very shortly. So after takes here, no rook takes here played. Instead, king captures, but now the rook slams down here, supported by the queen. Amazing kind of right angle geometry. Now we get queen takes on c4, but it allows Magnus to take here. I mean, it was really difficult to hold everything together. Rook f3 played, trying to evict the lady, but check from b2 with the rook. King f1 and queen d2, forced resignation, because checkmate is just unavoidable. So the immediate threat, mate in one, is queen d1 mate. So what if you try and protect against that one with, say, queen d3? Well, then you check from c1. Queen blocks, you deliver the mate. What else to do? Say from here, you go king g1, trying to interpose the rook. If you check here, well, now you've walked into queen g2 mate. Too many problems once you line up this kebab on the second rank here, shooting across like this. So that was the final position. These the standings on screen. If you want to see another incredible game that Magnus played in this tournament, then check out the video on screen. Thanks very much for watching. I hope to see you again soon, and cheers.